Hey, it's Character Select. We're going to talk about Final Fantasy.
Thank you, Brian.
You're welcome. Brian Mount Falcon here. Also formerly known as, to be futurely known as the Strategist.
The Strategist.
Copyright
Yes.
pending.
Yes.
Yes.
Phase Zero, otherwise known as Dr. Drex, and I'm I guess, the leader of this brigade.
Woo! I'm on board.
Hey, buddy, you want to introduce yourself? No? No?
Oh, man,
You don't want to say?
here.
You don't want to say anything to the nice people online?
No, I'm just
They don't
gonna
bite.
chill.
Alright.
So, in our last episode we had brought up Final Fantasy, and I kind of wanted to bring it up for this month's or week's episode, depending if what crazy idea I have next. But Final Fantasy was kind of a major game for me when I was growing up.
I think it's safe to say with everybody, like anybody who knows Final Fantasy, and if they've played it, it's always been. I don't think anybody's played it and been like, "Oh, I'm not going to remember that experience." I think everybody has maybe one particular game that they have such fond memories with of those.
Yeah, mine. I never owned I never owned a PS2 to get my first Final Fantasy game until I was like beginning of high school.
Yeah,
but
I had mine way before that. Interesting.
yeah, it's just for me. My family was kind of anti-video game until like high school. Then they were like, "All right, you can have one, but you gotta like keep your grades up."
Yeah, we've always had games in my house growing up, which I was lucky enough. But I remember a sibling of mine had Final Fantasy VIII. I've never played one before, and she let me play it, and I didn't quite understand. I forget what age it was because he was young, but I didn't quite. I think it was actually like very shortly after it came out. But I was young, and I remember not really getting the story as much, but loving who Squall was because he was so edgy.
So yours was 8, and that's what got you started.
But and then the thing that really got me into them was I played 8, and then my dad took me out to be able to get a game, and I saw Final Fantasy Tactics, but I didn't know what a tactics type game was, and then I got it home, and I'm like, oh, this is so different, and it was so hard, and I fell in love with it, but I couldn't get past one of the levels, but I kept replaying the same like couple levels over and over again just because I wanted to try different things.
For me, it was one of my older cousins. I stayed over at his house that weekend, and he started playing Final Fantasy VII. And at first, like before he like plugged in the game, he's like, "Okay, but before we start playing, like we're gonna be at this for the next like 2 to 3 hours."
Yeah.
And 2 to 3 hours later, I was like obsessed, but I didn't know the name. And all I could think about was just, wow, I want to play that game again. Come freshman year in high school, when I finally got my PS2, my friend gave me Final Fantasy VII and Tactics.
Yeah.
And I started both, and I didn't finish 7 first. My first Final Fantasy I finished was 9.
That was going to be my next question was, have you ever actually played through one all the way through and beaten it? Because a lot of people play Final Fantasy, they play a shit ton, but then since they're so long, no one actually gets to the end of the game.
I did it. I went back to 7 because I had then got sucked into Tactics, like seriously sucked into it. I really liked the story. I liked the sort of Shakespearean like writing and just how the characters interacted. It wasn't as, I don't know, just at the time it was just something really different, and the fact that I had more control over what the characters were, like I didn't just have Cloud who was the soldier who's badass, but I could have like 3 healers and 2 mages and 3 summoners. And sure, maybe the characters you get in that game are more kind of, they're hired mercenaries, so they don't like Tifa Lockhart has a story.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. What game got you emotionally invested in Final Fantasy?
The one that got emotionally invested.
Here, I give you a little time thinking back because I got this. I could say that 9 was the first one that actually had me caring about the characters because I love the relationship between Steiner and Vivi, and finding like how sad things were with Vivi, thinking that he's a clone and all that fun stuff. But
The pointy hats, though.
yes, yeah.
The village of the pointy hats.
But I guess the one that would have gotten me like into it all you know, I think it would be probably 10, and I think it's an easy one for a lot of people because I remember I had got the PS2, but I wasn't allowed to play the Final Fantasy until school was over for the summer. So I had like 2 months of waiting, staring at it, not able to play it. And then I played it, and I went through the entire game, and I like loved to, you know, Yuna was an Arn, and Titus was a whiny little bitch, and it was just like I remember loving these characters and then being sad when certain things happened. So I was kind of like, oh, that was a cool experience. It's one I'll always remember.
For me, I feel like it's tossed up between, like, I really did feel, even though a lot of the characters you got in Tactics weren't, like, you did get storyline characters, but I really feel like that's the one I put the most time into. 7 is a close second.
Ready for Tactics. Favorite, okay. Let's do it in two things. Favorite class and most badass class that you just want on your team because of pure, like, all right, what do you think?
Samurai.
Samurai for
the badass, definitely.
Badass,
because it was, so take a class that's, okay, you're kind of tanky and you use, your magic is, you basically have to buy copies of your swords and they do like effects around you.
Yes, yeah.
Not like just like a big circle. It's like this, like you have to kind of place your person in the right way.
And then you can hit a lot of people with it.
Yeah, and it was like I had a samurai and I would make sure they got like I also would cross class them with the ninja class so they could use 2 swords because
actually that's okay. That's what I was gonna say. For the most badass, I would say ninja. Because they had the ability that you would be able to equip the one katana, and its thing was dual. You would be able to dual wield, and I remember you maxing that out, and then you just put the 2 best katanas in the game on your character,
exactly.
And he then turns into, you never do anything but melee attack, but it just crushes everything. Like, it's a huge investment. You have to like play a lot of the side quests and outside the game because it takes forever to get up that skill to learn it. But then once you do, it's like boom, blah blah blah. There's your game winner.
And that was like my most badass class. The class I always had, Summoner, because in the original Tactics, I liked Advance too. I was so excited Advance came out, but in the original Tactics, if you used the summon on like an enemy and say there was an ally in its blast range, it would not be affected by it.
Yeah, I think mine was I might have
also because they had all the traditional summons, like they had Bahamut, Ifrit, Shiva, Leviathan, and then the last one they had was Cyclops. So random.
Yeah, it was random.
But I'm okay with that. Like, it was like, alright, I'll learn all the summons. Holy crap.
It might have been Final Fantasy Tactics Advance that they started them, but my favorite class and I use all the time was Dragoon. Because you could hit 2 enemies with the spear, like skewer them in a row. The jump was just devastating, and the dragon breasts and the different elements were just so fun to like get to someone. And they could get anywhere on the terrain because even if it was a high up ledge, bam, you can put them at a great advantage. It was my favorite.
Yeah, that was Tactics Advance, because in Tactics they just had Lancer, which was fine, but their only ability was jump, and you would just increase the range of their jump.
Who's your favorite Final Fantasy villain? That's a good one.
Kafka.
I would say Kafka, but in terms of
hang on, okay. I want to take that one back.
That's fine. No, I love Kafka though.
Hojo.
Okay.
Because he's like the biggest dick in the world.
My favorite would have to be Seymour because
Seymour, really?
I like well, here's the thing. Whenever Final Fantasy gets political, it's sometimes, for me that's not an interest, so it gets a little lost. But they didn't go so much political, but like a holy war in the story of Final Fantasy X, and the way that he plays the I'm, grace above God at first, and how he's like, Jesus, because everybody wants to see him. They're like inspired by his presence.
Yeah.
He's amazing. But then this slow descent into madness, thinking that he needs to take the final form of the one thing that can cleanse all the evil from the world. And like that descent into madness, not that Kefka's is not, is not worse, but I just Seymour stuck with me because at different parts, you would think, okay, is he actually good? Is he a friend? And then just the transformation he takes is terrifying.
Like, that was the only thing with 10 that I didn't like was the story, because I liked certain parts, but then some parts were kind of like I found Seymour's character design to be very odd. I know that the Quad of Salam were kind of like elfish, but they were like, they had sort of this like monstrous side to them. Like the hands in particular were kind of like, you would see like huge veins.
Definitely, yeah.
And I got that, but I felt that they were like, let's make these people look like the bad guys.
Who is your favorite protagonist out of to finish it up? What's the protagonist like that you think is the most like the coolest out of any of the Final Fantasies? Going across all the games. So even
games.
Ones that showed up in like Dissidia, if their actions were cool in that. Because my answer is Squall, because they put him into Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah.
And he's voiced by David Boreanaz, who is Angel. And it works so well because, and that's neat too, because technically he's the canon voice actor for Squall. Because when he showed up in, I believe he voiced him in Dissidia as well. But anytime Squall appears, it's David Boreanaz as the voice actor, so it's kind of neat. But also like him, like even him in Kingdom Hearts, like the help that he gave, I find him the coolest because everybody knocks him off as being so edgy. Because he has like the edgiest costume, and he's really a you lone wolf type of character. But in the other games,
I know a lot of people don't like him because they just like. I know there's a reviewer I watch. He is not a fan of.
Everybody hates 5. Everybody hates 8. I'm like the only one who endured it. I mean,
you're not the only. I do have people I know who do love
it. It had a lot of flawed concepts, but it was interesting to take the whole idea that you're in a school and it was
that
more
floats.
Yeah,
the fuck is that supposed to be?
It's like I'm a garden. It's like a garden. It's. That's the thing, is like I would have to replay it now as my older self to see if I could appreciate the story, and then I might go back and hate it. But I don't know, something about me as a kid always liked hitting R1 when you connect with the enemy for your gunblade to shoot off. That was just cool. It added some action to my, because it reminded me of Legend of Dragoon, which is what everything falls back to is Legend of Dragoon. It is the best Final Fantasy game that they ever released, because it's not Final Fantasy, but it's literally the same game except for the button combo presses, and that is the best part of the game. So this podcast should just be titled Legend of Dragoon, the best Final Fantasy game. There you go, because it all comes back to that.
I'm still like struggling with the idea, like who's my favorite Final Fantasy.
It's tough because I'll admit, like,
I think Ramza from Tactics would be my favorite, just because of the fact of like the whole story behind that is you see people straight up just what? I'm sorry, everyone. I got distracted.
Buy sweet button panties.
Oh my god. They glow in the
Just edit that shit out later.
Yeah, they glow in the dark. You fucking serious? Goddamn.
Bart, keep that in.
Oh my god.
I was gonna do it. But yeah, sorry, Final Fantasy.
Now I'm really fuck. I had
so Ramza, because his story was really cool with his whole mother and the father like representation. It was like they could make a movie of that particular storyline, and it probably wouldn't be too terrible.
Well, like what I like is just the fact that it's like him and his spoilers. He and his best friend start in the beginning as really close. He's from a rich family. His best friend's from the poor, and it's just how like his.
Well, Ramza is poor in the beginning. He's sick, isn't he?
No, that's Tactics Advance. Tactics.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm thinking Tactics Advance. Sorry, Tactics. Yes.
Tactics. His Ramza Yaval, or however you pronounce his last name. He comes from a ritzy aristocratic family, and his friend Delita is a commoner, but they always were best bros despite that.
Yeah.
At the end of the first chapter, everything changes. He thinks Ramza thinks his best friend is dead. He's actually alive. He ends up becoming king, making it possible to make all these other people, all these other like aristocratic like who are trying to fight for the power gone, and he proved that like people from nowhere can become the leaders of the world. At the end of it, he gets his just desserts because he basically used his best friend, who was Ramza, to save the world. Okay. Because because that's the thing. Like the story can be interpreted a couple different ways. It's because all your adventures are being told to you through, I can't remember his name, but he's the old guy who I'll look it up later. One way is it's the true story of how the Lion War went on. Okay. And another way is this guy has just lost his shit because he lived through all this crap. Yeah. But I don't know. I liked his character because he was willing to he didn't want to submit to using the holy stones because they were all corrupted. Like the whole religion itself was a joke. Yeah. And it's just he couldn't accept that kind of fate.
Yeah, I definitely.
I'm a fan of the stories where it's like the character didn't accept their fate off the they wanted to make the change and he did so.
Yeah, definitely.
But I have to say though, my least favorite Final Fantasy is 13. 13. And I can explain why. It's
everything.
The battle system.
It was hallway simulator.
I didn't like the battle system because I don't like the ability to only control one character.
Yes, that is my pet peeve in most games because at first, not to go too off topic, but when I first because I never played Persona 4, so playing Golden on the Vita, at first I was like, oh, I hate this, and then I realized oh, I can switch everybody to be commanded by me. So I'm like, you gave me both options. That's amazing. I hate being in a game where you don't control. That's why, Final Fantasy 15 looks amazing, but it's also am I only gonna be able to control Noctis the whole time? Because that might take it away from me. But in a melee game like that, it's okay, maybe I only want to control one character. In a turn-based, you want to have control over everybody because it's so vital that you're getting the right things off at the right time.
Yeah, that was so. The battle system, and that for me, the most annoying thing would be I get they wanted to make you move around the battlefield. That's fine because that makes more sense than them standing on one side and you standing on the other and you going back and forth. Fine. Yeah. But why would you stand in front of the Super Pope's laser beam? Yeah, exactly. And for those of you who know who the Super Pope is, who played it, if not, look it up. He's a dick. Nobody likes him, especially in this universe. Perfect. No, it's just, it would be, and then it'd be okay, you're casting haste. I didn't want you to cast haste. I want you to cast cure. Yep. Yeah. It would go for the most optimum. And it would go for the optimum idea, and I'd be fine with that if it was.
You can't read your mind though. That's the thing is you don't know because here's the thing in Final Fantasy X when you fight Unileska. The coolest thing is you realize what she does is she zombifies you and then heals you, and then if you in that point of the game haven't realized it's because I don't remember doing it. I do. It's then you're oh, undead, because in Final Fantasy Tactics it works the same way. If you heal an undead unit, it brings them, it kills them. Yeah, it hurts them. Yeah, it hurts them. It does damage. So it's that was just a really cool fight, and I cannot imagine if I could not control my whole party how I would have pulled my ass out of that, because you had to constantly be doing all these different stuff because she's just bam, I'm gonna get to zombify you and then full heal you so you're dead. It was crazy.
And then
that worm on the air.
That's one. Two was I find Lightning to just not be as...
Oh, she's not she's hot and awesome, but then as actiony, but then it's you have no personality. You yell at everybody. You're Cloud 2.0.
She's basically Cloud 2.0, but also it's just even when she does, even if you like, I took the time to kind of look through her character progression in each of the games, and it's just like, I don't care enough. You don't have me invested.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I know a lot of people harp on Hope. My only issue with Hope is that it doesn't matter, because here's the truth, ladies and gentlemen. He's not even freaking human to begin with. He's like a puppet of God.
Spoilers.
Yeah.
So many spoilers.
Yeah, he's... And they revert him back to a kid in the third game, because that's how Lightning remembered him. It's like, not true. She did see you when you were older.
Yeah,
and
it's
I was
weird,
okay
man.
with you being older than you being a kid again.
It's
I think you
weird.
did that for the fans.
Yeah, I agree.
And just... Like, the story itself, I feel like I had to go back and read the glossary for certain things, because a lot of the time, like, I was fine with the whole fast pace of, look, we gotta move to the next area because the bad guy's hot on our heels. Fine.
Yeah.
But you gotta make sense of this stuff. Otherwise, it's like, I'm going to go nuts.
Exactly.
And it didn't. And there were points where I was like, wait a minute. The Pulseless Sea, the enemy of Cocoon, got it. But a Pulseless Sea is what's
Dude,
doing...
that was
and
so.
I was like,
it
no,
so
I'm done.
confusing.
I'm done.
Let's see, foul C. I don't understand. I don't remember. And
Let's see, I think we're good. Foul C, I don't fucking
Yeah.
know.
But
And after a while,
anyway, we get the point.
like, it was... And then here's the thing. Snow's coat, everyone should be wearing Snow's coat. It's immune to bullet fire, it's immune to sword,
Grenades.
it is grenades, flames, it's like... And then, no, you read it in the backlogs, it's like this super synthetic coat thing that all the, like, the things you would put on it, I don't, they're not tattoos, but like stitching you put on it,
Yeah, whatever. The sigils, yeah.
it would fucking boost your abilities. It's like,
so weird. So everybody
why
go
would-
out and get Snow's coat.
yeah, get Snow's coat and then and Lightning's weapons.
And then let's end this war in Baghdad, everybody. Woo!
Seriously. But yeah, just 13, it just... The point where I stopped was a buddy of mine, John, and I, we were playing, he was watching me play, and I was fighting this boss, and I lost to it because I didn't know how to fight it, and with this game, it feels more like trial and error of the worst kind. It's like, okay, I lose the boss fight, I gotta go grind. And then he literally turns to me and goes, Andre, are you having fun? And I'm like, honestly, no.
Yeah.
And that's what happened.
All right. That was a
But I
great
feel-
Final Fantasy talk.
Yeah, I feel like that's what I want to say about Final Fantasy. It's a great series. I know we didn't get a chance to talk about all of them, but if you
We can
do
always
have,
circle back to it at some other
Yeah.
point.
look, if you can find a copy of Tactics, I know there's one for the PSP now. Get it. You get a bunch of bonus characters that didn't come with the original.
And it's a
game.
fun game. It's a fun game. You'll be at it
Tactics.
for hours.
Tactics Advance is fun too if you can find a gold Game Boy Advance or whatever. 7 is
Even
great.
you can be a strategist. My
And I-
catchphrase. So I'm working on it.
That's my catchphrase.
Yep.
Yeah, I think we'll end it on this. So, till next time.
Stay classy, internet.
See ya.